All right. I'm fairly certain. I don't want to say with absolute confirmation, but I believe we're back.
I think we're back. I'm back.
Well, that's good. Just as long as you're back, that's all that matters. If somebody in the chat room, I say somebody, but everybody's gonna do it. If you just put the number one or any number, whatever, any number between 1 through 7,
No,
let us know we're
it
back.
has to be a 7, I think, Dean.
It's got to be a 7.
Yeah, it's not going to be accepted if it's not a 7. To let us know that we're back here. You can
All
hear
right,
us.
drop a 7 for us. Let us know we're back before we start rambling. Before we got cut off, you were talking about. I guess we were talking about Steven Strasburg. You pretty much got to play him today in your cash games, correct? Yes.
Absolutely. He's by far the number one choice. Obviously for GPPs, anything's open tonight, but this is one of the nights where I don't trust anybody, don't love anything, but Strasburg's got the highest floor. He's been pitching well his last 9 straight games. He's had 3 good games on the road. This Giants team doesn't scare me. They're a decent club, but they don't scare me, so I think he's your best bet. A little worried about the win, the way Vogelsong's been pitching, but that Washington line's actually pretty deep now. They're starting to get healthy, so Strasburg.
Oh no! Did I lose you again? Oh no! What is going on? Can you hear me? Am I by myself?
Can anybody hear me?
I can hear you now.
Oh, hey! This is a mess, man.
This is the worst broadcast in history of Grinders ever.
We should just type it all that.
Yeah, wow. I have no idea what just happened, but okay. I'm actually physically, it's kind of storming outside to some degree, but I'm actually physically plugged into the internet. I shouldn't be having any issues. I know I don't want to blame anything on you, but they did say blame Canada in the chat.
Yeah, it actually showed difficulties with you. It had technical difficulties with Google. It showed there when I was trying to see your face. So I don't know. When in doubt, blame Canada. That seems fair.
There you go. If Trey Parker and Matt Stone taught us anything, it's that.
Yeah.
All right. So Steven Strasburg's the number one guy on a site where you have to roster 2 guys. Maybe on DraftKings, on Draft Street. We're playing on Draft Street tonight. 2 or 3 starting pitchers. So you kind of have to scrape the barrel. You got to find somebody. You can't roster nobody. You can't say, what, I'm just going to roster extra bats and take that salary elsewhere. Who are you looking at?
I don't mind Cingrani. I think that he's got some upside. The Dodgers don't hit left-handed pitching. I certainly don't love it. Like I mentioned, I don't love anything really tonight. But he's got the high K potential that you're looking for. And Heron hasn't been that great, so maybe he can score some runs there. So Cingrani's can play with the upside. Charlie Morton's in a pretty good spot, I think, tonight, home to the Cubs. He's a decent pitcher. He pitches great at home. The lefties have mashed him over his career, but they're not really killing him this year. And let's be honest, the Cubs don't really have a whole lot of bats that we're afraid of. So there are a couple of guys I'm looking at. I could see if the knuckleball's dancing tonight. The Jays getting a good game out of Dickey. And obviously that offense in Minnesota is not great. The Jays should score some runs again on a W tonight. But that'd be the 2 or 3 guys I guess I'm looking at if I'm going that way. What about you?
Yeah, pretty much the same guys, and price-wise as well. Charlie Morton is only 13.6K on Draft Street, and he's been really solid of late. He doesn't really hurt you, and the Cubs are 29th in the league in OPS against righties. They're not good against lefties either, but they're worse against righties. Big ballpark, and that lineup is not very scary outside of, I don't know, say Anthony Rizzo pretty much. Otherwise, it's a bunch of it's kind of a ragtag group. So I think Morton not a huge upside, but he's pretty safe. Cingrani, low floor but high ceiling. We've seen he's had some really electric games where he can strike out 9 guys through 4 innings. He gets a high pitch count sometimes. It's a little bit dangerous, but there is some strikeouts in that Dodgers lineup, and there's also it's kind of watered down. They're missing Adrian Gonzalez. They're missing D. Gordon. A dinged Yasiel Puig. It's weird to say the lineup's watered down when they're missing D. Gordon. It's kind of a strange sentence, but it's true.
Yeah, he's been outstanding this year. I mean, shocking everybody, I think.
Sean Figgins is one of the worst hitters in all of baseball. The best thing he can do is walk. Just throw the guy a strike, and you're fine.
I don't mind Figgins. He's not the worst hitter in baseball.
Oh, who's worse? Who's worse than Sean Figgins?
There's a few guys in that lineup that are worse than Sean Figgins. Look at 6, 7, 8, 9.
Yeah, Federovich, yeah, Romack and Turner. Yeah, it's a bad lineup.
He's a terrible leadoff hitter, let's be honest. He's an old man now. But, I mean, he still gets on base. He can still do odd bag. It's not a good situation. I don't think he's the worst hitter in baseball, though, but certainly not putting him on my roster tonight.
Yeah, I agree. Well, I mean, I know he's kind of a punt play and on some spots, and he's minimum salary, so sure, I suppose. And he can still bases if he gets on, but Figgins, maybe 12 years ago or so, he was something, but I have no interest in him now. Yeah, so Cingrani I think is certainly worth a look at a tournament. Edwin Jackson, he's just over 12K. I don't mind Edwin Jackson for that price. Is that crazy?
I can't do Edwin Jackson. Dan and I had this conversation the night in Sirius, and I was going toe-to-toe. I actually took Dice K over Jackson that night, and they both got lit up. And I can't do Jackson. I prefer a guy like Vargas at home to the Yankees, to be honest, at 14.5 than Jackson. Just a couple grand more. I just can't swallow Edwin Jackson, man. When he gets beat up, he's just an absolute gas can. He just gets blown up, 8 earned runs. I can't do it. Even though Pittsburgh's struggling, I can't get on Jackson. As a third pitcher, if you could afford that, I don't hate it. He's got some K potential, but I just can't ever get on Edwin Jackson.
I'll concede that he has huge blow potential, but he's kind of like a poor man's old school throwback Tony Cingrani in that he has a higher ceiling. 3 of his last 6 games, he's had at least 9 strikeouts. In Pittsburgh against righties is really bad, big ballpark. I kind of see like a low-scoring game there. Again, as your third starting pitcher, not as your number 1 guy, Edwin Jackson, by all means. And
fair enough.
Probably more so for a tournament, but I think he's fairly safe. I don't think his Pittsburgh lineup is that great. We'll get to some guys I do like there, but I don't think he's – well, look, he absolutely can have a disastrous game. But he's only had 1 negative in his last 10 games on Draft Street, which is kind of sort of saying something. But and 9 Ks, and 11 Ks. That's 3 of his last 6 starts. Got
to be a third pitcher then. I don't hate it as a third pitcher, but even in a GPP, it's a multiple pitcher, second or third pitcher at least for me. That's the best I can give you there.
What about Vogelsong? Any interest there against Washington?
Yeah, I'm okay with him. And he's certainly turned the corner. He's been really outstanding pitching, and basically the last 10 starts have been pretty solid for him. So, obviously it's tough going against Strasburg, but we know he's not great in the road. It hasn't been. The Giants got some solid bats there. I could see him being quite decent. I shouldn't say I mentioned Vogelsong 10 starts. It's actually about 8 starts deep where he's been pretty solid. But I don't mind him. On a night where there's not a whole lot of pitching, I don't mind. I mean, on a site like Draft Street, you can throw them both at each other, really, or even DraftKings and hope for a low-scoring game there. But I don't think I want him on a site like FanDuel where you only got 1 pitcher just because I think Strasburg outduels and makes it tough for a W. And those 4 points for that W in FanDuel are pretty important. But on a multi-pitcher site, I think Vogelsong is one of your safest top options, to be honest.
Yeah, I agree, and Vegas agrees as well. The line, the over/under in that game is 6.5, and it's for Strasburg, and the San Francisco's plus 116, plus 110, depending on what side you're going to. So it's basically a coin toss. Vegas pretty much thinks 50-50, whoever wins.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I believe in that Washington lineup a little more than some do. I had a few players the weekend and Petco, and it worked out well too. And that lineup gets healthy. I mean, they're pretty gross, 1 through 7 in that Washington lineup. And when Harper comes back, 1 through 8, they're pretty good. When Ian Desmond and Wilson Ramos are hitting 7, 8 in your lineup, it's pretty solid. So Washington's got some good bats there. I think they're going to start turning the corner there. So I think Strasburg pitches well, and I think Washington scores enough runs to going to win tonight.
Site specifically, by the way, you mentioned Ian Desmond. I think he's 2.2K today on FanDuel.
Yeah, I saw that. That's ridiculous. I mean, he struggled at times, but he's been hitting well lately, and 2.2 ridiculous. I mean, how do you not get him in play tonight? The guy can steal a bag, get a couple hits, hit a bomb. Not the best ballpark, not the greatest matchup, but at 2.2, man. That's where you can go to Coors Field and load up, and some of the other places as well, like Cam Yards and Arlington tonight. Get some big guys there at Strasburg. So if you're looking for value in FanDuel, man, that's hard to pass.
3 home runs in his last 5 games and 4 home runs in his last 8 games. And, he's been a 20-20 guy, I think, twice. So That's just a very strange price.
FanDuel's like that sometimes. This guy's going on fire and his price has gone down. I can't figure the system out. A guy like Juan Francisco was tearing the cover of the ball, was for 6 weeks was minimum salary on FanDuel too, and every other site had him priced differently. So, hey, every site's different, guys, and take advantage of where you can, and that's one to take advantage of in FanDuel tonight.
Absolutely, I agree. And let's see, any other starting pitchers we want to talk about? It's pretty ugly. If you're on a single pitcher site, it's pretty much Strasburg. You really can't stray. Maybe for a tournament, sure, you want to do something wacky, why not? But for a cash game, I would not recommend going away from Strasburg. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely, I agree. The only other 2 guys I'll mention are Jesse Chavez and Garrett Richards, both capable of them having a big K game and being solid. Obviously, they're facing 2 top teams who, in Los Angeles' case, is getting healthy. They've got Hamilton back, Trout's back. That's a tough lineup. But both those guys have GPP potential or in a multi-pitcher site. I like them because of the high K upside there. But, again, if we're just rocking cash games, it's Strasburg or nothing. You're going to have to find a way to beat everybody with your lineup, I think, tonight because it's Strasburg. And those guys who don't take Strasburg and try to load up, I think that's a mistake tonight. hopefully I can exploit that.
By the way, you mentioned Jason Vargas. We should mention the weather. It's still a couple hours before the game out there, but it's does not look good in Kansas City. That's the Texas earlier in the day looked like it was going to be really dicey. Texas kind of cleared up, and it looks like at least as of now, it looks pretty good. But Kansas City looks really bad tonight. So I'm on nobody for Kansas City, New York, and there's nobody in that game. It's like, wow, I got to play that guy. So there's nobody that's even worth chancing, I don't think.
Yeah, it looks like that game's going to start with a delay. I think it does get in, but I'm the same as you. I always play it safe. If I loved a hitter there, I might roll the dice a little, get closer to 7 o'clock before I check it again. But as far as pitching goes, when you've got 80, 75%, 100%, 50, 60, 60, 60% across the board all night, yeah, you're avoiding a pitcher because you don't want that delay and him to come back, not to come back out. So I agree. For pitchers, I'm 100% off in that Kansas City Yankee game. For hitters, if you're in love with somebody there, I definitely monitor it and have a look around 6:30. And if it's your cash games, you're better safe than sorry, I think, guys.
All right, so enough with pitchers. Let's talk about catchers. At least the catchers that are playing tonight, a lot of the ones I liked are out. I've not seen a Braves lineup. Is El Oso Blanco? Is Evan Gattis playing? Do we know yet?
I haven't seen the Braves either. I'm clicking refresh a couple more times on 2 sites. Nothing yet. Catcher-wise, obviously, we know Gattis in the play. I love him tonight. Victor Martinez is a guy I also love tonight. It's a good night to pay up for catchers. The Detroit lineup's not out, but we assume he's going to be in play as well. And Miguel Montero is another guy that I like. Those are the 3 top guys that I love tonight. Like you mentioned, a few guys that we like that are out of the lineup, including Sal Perez, who was at a pretty good value there too. So really, for me, it's come down to just those 3 guys. It makes my choices a hell of a lot easier with all these guys sitting out tonight. But top 3 I'm looking at. Is there anybody else I didn't mention that you like tonight other than those 3?
That's pretty much the guys I like. If we're looking at draft street, they actually have Victor Martinez is listed as a DH, and nobody ever plays a DH on draft street. I always say this, but he's 9K, 9.1K, pretty exorbitant price. If you're stacking Detroit, by all means, unleash him. In your cash games, I don't know if necessarily that's the right price. Good matchup. I love the matchup, and I'm not going to talk you out of it. You like everybody else. I just don't know if that's the best way to spend 9% of your salary.
Yeah, fair enough. He's a little pricey there on DraftKings and FanDuel. He's a little more moderately priced. I think he's more in play there, especially the catcher position. But I think Gattis is going to be an awful popular pick tonight with like you said, Victor Martinez not being able to catch on every site, and a few of these other catchers that we like today not being in the lineup, like Nazaraco and Sal Perez. So Gattis is probably going to be 50% owned, I would think, in most cash games and GPPs tonight.
Yeah, and Gattis is not just he's not just getting dongs. He's got 4 dongs in his last 9 games. He's getting the base hits too. He's on a 9-game hitting streak.
Yeah, he's been hitting really well right now, and I'm sure he's going to find himself in that lineup. And it's hard to beat that. I mean, you're in Coors Field against a rookie pitcher. It's really, you can't go wrong with any Brave tonight, I don't think.
Yeah, all the Braves. There you go. We'll make it easy for you.
Yeah.
As far as cheapies, is there any interesting punt that you're curious to look at, or do you feel like today's kind of a day because there's a couple really nice spots to pay up for catchers?
Yeah, I'm paying up tonight. I feel like there's value elsewhere, which obviously we'll get into. There's a few guys that I love that are fairly cheap across the industry, and they're in good spots. So for me, I'm paying up. I'm a big fan of the punt catcher play. I love to find that, the Devin Mesoraco of last year, as we know. I love to go there. I was on John Buck last week and a couple other guys that went off, but I just don't see anything tonight. All the cheap punt catchers are awful hitters, and I like to go punt catcher when I see value and I see a guy that can hit a dong. But when I see nothing but awfulness, I just kind of stay away, and that's what I see tonight. I don't hate Michael McHenry. He's not a bad stick. We know he can't throw anybody out. I don't hate McHenry. So if I was going to punt anywhere, obviously it's Coors Field. It's batting 6, and I'm not a big fan of Gavin Floyd. So if I was going to punt, you're looking for somebody cheap. He's about the only guy I'd recommend tonight.
What if Gattis doesn't play? Any interest in? I know these names are kind of gross, but Ryan Domit or Gerald Laird, they're 3.5, 3.6K on Draft Street. Is that cheap enough to look there?
No, I'm not interested in either of them. I would at that point I would make another move and upgrade.
All right, fair enough. And I will throw out Jason Castro. Positive. It's not Coors Field, but it's been deemed Coors Light. Hitting in Chase Field's a nice park bump for him. Not that Houston's a bad park, but Chase Field's even better. And he's 4.2K on Draft Street, which I think is a very nice GPP price play.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah.
Not my top guy, but yeah, I think it's Gattis. That's the guy I'm targeting. Hopefully he plays. Oh, and also one more guy I'm going to throw out. The other game that I guess we haven't mentioned just yet. Well, we only mentioned it as far as weather. But I think Nick Martinez is going to absolutely shell tonight. And Yan Gomes, 5.8K. I think he's kind of sneaky.
Yeah, Gomes is not in the lineup either. It's George Cottaros tonight.
What?
There you go. Just completely ruining your whole day. with catching.
Unbelievable. That is
Yeah.
ridiculous.
I had Gomes on my list earlier too. I basically took out like 80% of my catchers off my list and down to those three. But yeah, he'd have been a nice play too. And I agree with me some runs in that game, I think, as well. But Gutierrez isn't in a bad spot there. He's a decent hitting catcher as well. I don't love him, but he's not awful. I mean, if you didn't want to go to McHenry there, he's only 3.8 on draft street here, so he's not a bad punt, I guess.
Yeah, the only thing is that you're probably stacking that team and you're probably picking 4 other Indians, aren't you, if you're going to play Cleveland?
Well, I mean, if you're just strictly looking for a punt play, right? Like you put your roster together, maybe you skip second base, you skip catcher, and you're looking for a complete punt. I mean, he's cheap. He's a lot cheaper than McHenry, who I mentioned. So if you're looking for a total punt, I don't hate Gutierrez.
Fair enough. All right, let's get out of catchers because I'm done talking about guys that are scratched. And I guess we're going back to cores for this first baseman.
Yeah, I don't know why I would, man. Freddie Freeman, to me, he's got good value across the industry. I love him tonight. We mentioned this is Coors Field, which is, I think runs are scored there sometimes. A rookie pitcher who is not a prospect, not a big K guy, is a pitch-to-contact guy, and anybody who is a pitch-to-contact in Coors Field, you're looking for bad things. So I love Freddie Freeman tonight. If Miguel Cabrera's in that lineup, I think he's in a good spot, but I don't know if he's going to play tonight. The way he left last night's game, it didn't look good, but he might not be in. So Freeman, for me, is across the board number one play anywhere you can get him. I mean, there's a lot of good options tonight. We mentioned how bad the pitching was, which means there's a lot of good hitting out there tonight. But are you playing anybody over Freeman tonight?
Nobody over him. By the way, I just pulled up the Tigers lineup. Miggy is in the lineup. He's a DH tonight, batting third.
Okay, good. Yeah, I see it now too as well. Okay, so I mean, hard to not like him over Nosey. I mean, the Tigers in a pretty good spot. They're about the 7th team. That's a great stack tonight. But yeah, I mean, Miggy's the best hitter on the planet. So if he feels good enough to swing the bat, Nosey's been getting killed by right-handed batters and lefties too. So the Tigers are in a good spot, and obviously Miguel is always a good pick.
I'll throw out 2 more guys amongst the elites. Brandon Moss, he kind of hit home. He hits home runs, especially against righties. I know Richards is the day's. Amongst the pitchers pitching today, Richards is one of the better pitchers. We didn't even mention that, but against Oakland, I'm afraid outside of tournaments. But Moss, I think, is worth a look. And Goldie at home versus Jared Kozart. I mean, we talk about Goldie versus lefties, but he hit another one off a righty last night. Another dong, absolutely crushed it. I think pretty much all of his home runs except for 1 this year has been against the righty.
Yeah, Goldschmidt's always in play. These guys are studs. I mean, I love Moss as well. Anytime he faces a righty, but Richards is a guy that he's been inconsistent of late, but he's got great stuff. He's hard to square up. His batting average against for both lefties and righties is extremely low. So I don't love Moss tonight. I think there's obviously better options if you're paying up. Goldschmidt's in a good spot. Chris Davis is another guy we didn't mention that PB has been absolutely awful. What's he got 5 runs or more in 4 or 5 consecutive starts now? Just awful. So, I mean, I think Chris Davis in a good spot, obviously capable of a double down there if you're paying up. And Encarnacion versus Nolasco. I mean, there's so many teams to stack and so many bad pitchers out there tonight. But, we might see the Ed Wing tonight. We're calling up here in Toronto there when he hits that home run and throws that arm up like there's a parrot on it. Call it the Ed Wing. So you might see 1 or 2 of those against Nolasco tonight.
Is that what it's called, the Ed Wing, where he gets like he waits for the parrot to land on his arm?
Yeah, I've seen it for years and always thought it was just part of his run. But with all the publicity he's getting now, and that a lot of people are saying it's the Ed Wing, so I like that better than the parrot. I can't find any background stories on it, if he's doing it on purpose or why or what it's all about. But I like the Ed Wing over the parrot, so hopefully we see one tonight.
And he's not the only Toronto first baseman we're interested in, is he?
No, that's true. Adam Lind has been on fire. He's actually batting cleanup tonight in between Batista and Encarnacion. He's in a good spot. A lot of these Jays have had good success against Nolasco. Let's be honest, pretty much everybody in baseball has had good success against Nolasco, and he's in a good spot too, a little cheaper. But if I'm going to Toronto, it's all about Encarnacion right now for me.
Fair enough. Oh, by the way, for bargain hunting, Chris Davis is only 6.5K on Draft Street. And Mike Napoli came back last night, promptly donged. He's only 5.1K tonight. There's so many pitchers to pick on. Bud Norris is pitching too. He's been awful of late as well, and he loves to give up home runs. So that's an interesting tournament play.
Yeah, I don't mind Napoli, especially at that price there. That lineup becomes a lot better when they start getting healthy. I mean, that Brock Holt kid's been on fire recently too. So you get Holt and Bogart's getting on base, and all of a sudden that lineup becomes a lot better. It looked a lot different last night with Napoli in there against the Tigers than it did before that. So as they get healthy, it'll get scary. But yeah, in a tournament play, I don't mind Napoli as well. But it's just, like you said, there's so many bad pitchers, so many good options, and it's it's hard to go down to Napoli when you got all these other studs available.
Yeah, and I guess this is more of a cash game play, but Joe Mauer is just too cheap considering the park bump. Dickey's not exactly somebody to be feared. 4.5K is a little bit too cheap for me. He doesn't have the upside of the other guys, but there's no reason why he can't get a couple doubles, an RBI or 2, run, something like that.
Yeah, I'm okay with Mauer. Billy Butler's also a guy I was looking at earlier, but the weather has me off that. He's a guy like, a notorious lefty killer, and Nuno's been awful for the Yankees. But with the weather being there, it's maybe maybe you stay away from that game. And a set like Fando, Butler's awful cheap there, so I thought about throwing him in some GPP lineups to load up elsewhere. But at the end of the day, I think you're better paying up for some first baseman, especially for a guy like Freeman who we love, and he's not that expensive tonight. So I think he's in a much better spot. So I doubt I'm punting first baseman in too many lineups tonight.
Yeah, I agree. Maybe throw in a utility spot, just throwing it out there. But any excuse to say Billy Butler works for me, because then I get to say what I think is my favorite nickname in all baseball today. Currently, I think Country Breakfast. Can we top that?
that's the good one. We were talking earlier in the show about nicknames and whatnot there, and Country Breakfast is up there. One of my favorite all-time ones is Dennis Oil Can Boyd. Always loved that as a kid growing up, so he's one of my favorite ones there. But as far as nickname goes now he's got to be the top one right now. I made up one for the Cardinals first baseman there, calling him Big Country, which not quite the same as Country Breakfast, but Country Strong I call him, so we started calling him Big Country there. But I guess it's kind of we make up the nicknames, does it?
Matt Adams. There you go. Yeah, that works.
Yeah.
I'm not going to argue with that one. It works for me.
Couldn't spit his name out there. It was drawing a blank.
Yeah, if we had more time, we could delve into this, because I can talk nicknames for the next 20 minutes. But
yeah.
we had a little hiccup in the show, and I guess we're stuck talking about baseball the entire time. Any other first baseman should we talk about, or should we move on to the keystone position, second base?
Let's move on.
Second base, I don't really love it. I don't think anybody really stands out. I guess if there's one guy that stands out, it's Jason Kipnis, especially on FanDuel.
Yeah, I agree. He's my number one choice tonight. He's starting to, he's not hitting like he's not back to his all-star form, I guess you could say. Capable of hitting a homer, capable of stealing a couple of bags. He's hitting cleanup tonight against Dick Martinez, who you mentioned you don't like. He does have hits in 6 straight games, even though he's not really crushing the ball. So at his price across the industry, absolutely love him tonight. He's a good value play, I think. Pedroia and Kinsler, both are in good spots for me tonight, just because they're facing bad pitching, even though they're both facing the righties, and we prefer them against lefties. But they're both in good spots. They're both hitting the ball better lately as well. Going down to maybe Nomar Infante again. That game's got rain problems there, but at Kipnis' price with his matchup, I'm pretty much using him across the board tonight. There's just too much value there for me to go anywhere else. It just gives me more salary relief for my hitters that I want to get in the outfield. So I'm all about Kipnis tonight.
Yeah, his price isn't too, 7.1K on Draft Street isn't awful. I kind of like, look, it's weird. None of the guys at second base, none of the guys are facing like the hand we want them to face. They're all facing where they don't excel.
Yeah, the handedness, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And I like Jose Altuve. Jose Altuve is leading the American League in both stolen bases and hits. He's batting like 400 and 420, something like that, against lefties. He's still fine against righties, and against righties he's got a better chance to steal a bag. So I'm perfectly fine with Altuve. He's one of my favorite players. So maybe I'm biased, but 6.5K is a pretty reasonable price tag, so I have no issues with him. Kendrick, I'm assuming he's going to lead off, but again, another guy we want him hitting a lefty, not a righty. He's not terrible versus righties, but he should be hitting lead off, and 5.5K is a very reasonable price. I just don't think anybody's like the obvious guy. Kinsler's 8.9K. That's just pretty pricey. Great matchup. Not a lefty, but good matchup still. I don't really know. I don't have a guy that I'm saying this is the guy I'm targeting on. I think I'm just going to kind of split it up.
Yeah, fair enough. Like I said, Kipnis' value is just too good for me, and I'm like we said, we're not in love with second base. I'm just going to use the value. I know he can hit a dong or steal a couple bases. I'm going to use him and load up elsewhere. What do you think about a guy like punting down to Charlie Culberson? Well, depending on the site, I guess. Obviously, on Draft Street, he's only available at shortstop, but a couple of sites he's available at second base. Punt there, DJ LeMahieu, something like that in Coors, or do you avoid that?
Yeah, if they're in the lineup, Culberson's 2.7K. I have no problem with that. I mean, it's perfectly fine for me. Yeah, like you said, I think he's is he a shortstop on Draft Street?
On our sponsored Draft Street, he's a shortstop, but on DraftKings and FanDuel, you can play him at second base there, and he's awful cheap. So if you want to punt there, he's in a decent spot. I mean, basically, if you're going to punt, might as well go to Coors Field. You got the potential to score some runs. He's going to score a run. He's going to drive in a run perhaps, and you can always run into a home run there. So.
Yeah, I was giving Tommy La Stella a look too, which is Tommy La Stella is kind of like the anti-Dan Uggla. He's not going to home run for you, but he's not necessarily going to strike out. He's kind of a base knock guy. But he's 5.6K, which isn't exactly a huge discount for me. I like the park, obviously, and he's probably going to be like 7th or 8th if he starts. What about Dan Uggla at 3.2K on Draft Street as a tournament play, not a cash game play?
Yeah, I don't hate that because Uggla will walk, and he's got that massive power. If he hits the ball, he's probably going to hit to it. It seems like he either gets 4 hits and a couple bombs or he's useless, and obviously he's been useless 90% of the time this year. But if he's in that lineup, I got zero problem with that. With no love at second base and in that park against this kid, And that bullpen of the Rockies is, first of all, it's been absolutely atrocious all season. But they are gassed. I mean, every game, they're in the bullpen with the fourth or fifth inning. All these guys have been pitching a ton. You got to assume it's taking its toll in the bullpen. So even if you can get some of the better guys in their arms, they got to all be tired. They've been giving them a ton of runs. So a bad bullpen and a tired bullpen together means a lot of runs, and another reason why you should be on the Braves tonight.
Yeah, so I'm pretty much out at second base. I got nobody else. Should we move on?
Yeah, let's go.
Third base, my top guy is Adrian Beltre. How about yourself?
Yeah, we're not disagreeing very often, which doesn't make a lot of fun. But yeah, Beltre is number one. I think Juan Francisco's in a great spot tonight against Alaska. This guy just continues to crush right-handed pitching. He's in a good spot there. Not a lot of love of some value plays here either, to be honest, at third base tonight. I mean, I love Chris Johnson, actually, I should say that. The guy that's hit really well in Coors Field. He's not been very good this season, but his price is really cheap. On a site like FanDuel, he is minimum price at 2.2, so love him a lot. For me, it's more of a punt option just because you've got to save some money somewhere. I think Chris Johnson's capable of a couple of hits tonight in that game against that pitcher, so I'm going to use him to save some money. Manny Machado's a guy that's in a decent spot too tonight, I think, but wish we had more time to talk about the stupidity that he's been doing out there. I mean, did you see them?
Oh, I think I just lost you. Are you there? Pepsi? Uh-oh. I don't know if it's me or I don't know if it's you. I'm not really sure which one of us is on right now. Pepsi, are you with me? Let me see. I think you froze. Chat, let me know. Which one of us is actually on air, because I feel like it's just me. I'm not sure. Chat, let me know who's if it's me or if it's Pepsi. Trying to get him back right now, or he's trying to get me back. We'll figure this out momentarily. Give me 1 second. Okay, so it's just me, I think. According to the chat, it's just me, and hopefully Pepsi will come back. I assume he's going to come back. If not, you're talking about Manny Machado. Yeah, I said Manny Machado. He was described to be a young Alex Rodriguez, and he's about as likable as Alex Rodriguez after last night. Because okay, so I'm sorry, I'm reading the chat right now, and apparently it is on me. We lost Pepsi. Yeah, so Manny Ramirez, he was kind of a fool. We shouldn't elaborate on that because we're almost out of time. At least considering we have 13 minutes. I guess it's plenty of time. Fire up some questions in the chat, by the way, just in case I get lost. But yeah, third base, love me some Adrian Beltre. Staying in the same game, I love me some Carlos Santana. If you're going to go down, Chris Johnson, like you were saying, like Pepsi was saying before he lost him, who's actually telling me to call him back, and I don't think I can. I'm trying to get him right now. Hold on. Give me 1 second. I'm trying to multitask, and I'm not very good at this, apparently. All right, so Chris Johnson, I know he's a site minimum on FanDuel, 2.5K on Draft Street. He's been horrendous this year, but it's hard not to play him at that price and the ballpark and the whole deal. And I feel like Pepsi's gonna be coming back momentarily. Are you with me?
I'm here. I hear you clear. Do you hear me now?
Yeah. Did you hear me the whole time? Because I was scrambling. I'm not a good scrambler.
No, I heard you for a while. Then it froze. You were calling my name, and I was talking back to you. I could hear you fine. Then it just all of a sudden said something wrong with the connection, and off it went. I don't know. It's got to be Canada, man. This is a nightmare. My apologies, guys. Where were we?
No worries. It's the internet. I was endorsing your Chris Johnson pick just because of price and opportunity, not because of how he's been this year. He's been terrible. He was fine last year, and I would imagine he's batting like 5th or 6th, somewhere decent in the lineup. I don't know. Yeah,
I agree with you. He's good. I would think top 6 anyway. That's what I'm expecting tonight. I haven't seen it yet. I'm refreshing again. I still don't see it out there yet. But, here it is here. Yeah, batting 6. We got Hayward, Upton, Freeman, Upton, Gaddis, Johnson, LaStella, Simmons, and Floyd. So exactly what we expected, D.
Wow, so at least Freddie Gonzalez doesn't completely hate us.
Yes.
There's one manager that appeases us tonight.
All right, so where are we going now? We're going to go off to shortstop here?
Well, I did mention, I talked about Adrian Beltre. We talked about Adrian Beltre. In the same game, I like Carlos Santana. You said Juan Francisco. Quick question about Francisco. I feel like, I've been watching these Blue Jays games of late, I feel like he gets the hook a little bit too often for my liking. Tolson comes in for defense, or if they bring in a lefty. Does this concern you at all?
Yeah, I mean, his price isn't dirt cheap anymore, so the guys I'll like ahead of him. But, I mean, he's getting usually 3 at-bats in still, and those 3 at-bats he can absolutely rake. I mean, even in some of his outs, and you mentioned you've been watching him hit a lot lately, even his outs seem to be rockets off of right-handed pitching right now. So maybe more of a GPP play tonight because everybody's going to be on probably Chris Johnson because he's cheap or a Beltray. But you slide him in there. It wouldn't surprise me to have him have 2 or 3 hits and a home run tonight. So more GPP-wise just because of what you said there defensively. And he hardly ever sees the 8th and 9th inning for multiple reasons.
Yeah, I just hate losing. I hate getting my at-bat stolen from me. So it does
right.
bother me. But, of course, obviously he can do enough damage in the first inning where it doesn't matter what he does beyond that. All right, we're running out of time, so let's get over to shortstop. I think there's 3 guys we got to sort our way through. Tulu at home. I always call him Tulu. It's too low. I should just say Tulowitzki. Hanley Ramirez gets the park bump, and he's facing a lefty. And I think Jose Reyes is kind of sneaky today.
Yeah, Reyes has been hitting. Well, I shouldn't say really well. He's getting hit per game and not a whole lot else. But he's smashing Lasco. The Jays are going to score runs. He's going to lead that attack. So I like him. He would be 3rd, though. I'm the same with you. Tulu, Hanley, Reyes. As far as cheap guys go, we mentioned Ian Desmond being dirt cheap pretty much everywhere. Well, not shouldn't say that. FanDuel's got him dirt cheap. He's moderate to low everywhere. J.J. Hardy also pretty cheap. And the home run's still sitting up there. He's going to hit one at some point. The average is there. The doubles are there. Hardy's in a decent spot, too, for value trying to take it short.
In the forums on Roto Grinders, there is a T-shirt contest. If you can properly or predict the day that J.J. Hardy is going to finally hit his home run, you win a T-shirt. So go ahead and check that out.
I finally predicted it on Friday. I finally said Friday he was going to hit his with the lefty matchup, and I'm wrong. So you've done the same thing, have you?
I've done it twice, and both times he actually hit value, or whatever you want to say his value. He had a couple hits, couple RBIs, things like that, but no dongs. Yeah. So nobody's yelling at me saying, hey, what a terrible pick. But no dong. He was still dongless, and I don't know when it's going to happen. It's going to happen. It has to happen, right?
It's going to happen for sure, yes.
Andrelton Simmons, I heard you say the lineup. I didn't hear his name. Is he in there?
Yeah, batting 8. He's pretty cheap as well. I think he's in a decent spot, but I mean, if you're putting 2 or 3 or maybe even maxing out 4 or 5 Braves on your team, I don't think Simmons is going to be the one guy you want to use. But if you're looking to punt short, I'm okay with it. Again, he's only 4.5 on Draft Street there, so looking for a punt option. Again, I always look to Coors Field for my punt options.
Yeah, I can't disagree with that. I usually hate the 8 spot in the National League is absolute death, but I don't see any reason why he can't do some, at least some damage for the small salary. And the last guy I'll throw out there, I mentioned I like that the Cleveland lineup picking on Nick Martinez as Dribble Cabrera, maybe.
Yeah, I'm okay with his dribble. Yeah, he's certainly capable of hitting one out or stealing a bag even, so I'm okay with that as well. The only thing I will say about the 8 spot, I know it's dreadful. It's probably better in your cash game punts than your GPP punts, just because you get that walk or sometimes 2 walks where you get handed first base so they can pitch to the pitcher. So I prefer the 8 spot more in a cash game punt, just because you're guaranteed points sometimes with a walk or 2 in front of the pitcher. Whereas in a GPP, you don't want your guy getting walked with a couple on to go after the pitcher there. So I think he's a safer cash game punt if you plan to punt short, which I wouldn't recommend tonight.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually. All right, let's get over to outfield. I'm actually going to throw me out your top outfielders, not price, just top players.
Yeah, it feels like we got to hurry here, and I guess we do, which is kind of frustrating, so it's unfortunate. But my outfield, probably going to go with Hayward, McCutchen, and I'm drawing a blank on my last one here now. Oh, Justin Upton. Love Upton, McCutchen, Hayward tonight, all over the Braves. I think Michael Brantley and the Rockies, Dickerson and Blackburn are in play. Obviously, Rios is a good stud against a left-handed pitcher tonight. Those are my top guys, Dean.
Michael Brantley, I'm pretty sure I haven't played him the entire season, inexplicably. I just completely ignore him. I remember he wasn't that good a couple years ago, and I had that bias. And he's 10K on Draft Street. I can't do it. I cannot play 10K for Michael Brantley. I just can't. My bias won't allow it to happen.
I was the same, and Boggs and I have had this conversation many times off the air. We hate him. We can't buy into him. It's been like that for a year and a half, and finally about a month ago, I started watching. They tore up my Jays one week, and I watched him hit a lot. I was on him since then, and he's done nothing but rake. And this guy's a legit hitter. I wrote about it a couple weeks ago in my column. It's time to believe. This guy is a stud. He can hit lefties. He can hit righties. He can hit anybody. He's a great cash game play. His price is pretty high now, but he's in the 3 spot against Nick Martinez at Hitter's Park tonight. I mean, if you can find a way to get him in, he's likely not going to disappoint you. Maybe he doesn't go off double dong style, but he seems to get 2 or 3 hits in every great matchup that he's in, and he is legit.
You know what's strange? I don't have the same bias against Jose Bautista, who stunk with the Pirates but is amazing with Toronto. But I don't have that bias at all. I don't know why.
Yeah, I feel the same way. It just takes us longer to buy into some guys. Everybody's like that. You always have a guy that, whether he burned you a few times or you watched him for a while or whatever it is, you just have a hard time buying into the fact. But that's the way it works. All these guys turn the corner at some point. the right team, the right matchup, whatever happens. And at some point you got to believe in them. That's what daily fantasy sports is all about. You got to forget about the past. And right now, Brantley is 100% legit.
Yeah, I'm not justifying my bias. I'm not saying it's a good thing, but I'm just kind of like I'm just qualifying it, saying where it comes from, and I probably need to get rid of it. I probably need to start playing Brantley a little bit more. As far as price, as far as Draft Street, Justin Upton is 5.6K.
Oh yeah, a must play at 5.6. That's ridiculous, really. I mean, homered last night. He's had great success in Coors Field. Actually, most of these Braves have. Not worried about the first game with Atlanta being in there like we've seen before. Yeah, I mean, how do you not play him in everything at that price?
It's really hard, and I guess he'll be an interesting guy to fade, maybe. Like, where do you think, what percentage will he be like in tournaments where it's like maybe you start thinking about, hey, we could just fade this guy, and if he goes 0 for 4, which is certainly plausible, we don't think it's going to happen, but it certainly can. Would you consider fading him for a tournament?
I would absolutely. I say he's at least 50% owned. I'm going to guess, because I did this with you last time, Dean, 62.3% owned, I'm going to say, in the bigger GPPs. I think in half your GPP plays, you have to fade him. I think it's a great contrarian play. He's certainly capable of going 0 for 4 and letting us down. He's let us down many times. So get off of him and go to somebody else and hope it doesn't go off. Getting off the Braves entirely is a great strategy in GPPs. Although, man, tonight might not be the night against the rookie pitcher, but I think in half of them you would do that. It makes sense.
I take it you don't buy into the whole first game at Coors visiting team, for whatever reason, can't score theory?
I think I started that, actually. I was the first guy to say it's not the Rockies. It's the visiting team coming in and adjusting to that altitude. And it hasn't happened since the end of last year when I started monitoring it. It wasn't happening this year. And I think I was the first one to bring it up and harp about it. And, I believe in it strongly. But for whatever reason tonight, I'm not with that theory. Actually, a buddy of mine was laughing because he says, you're the one going on about it. Now you're going to play them tonight. But I just think it's a different scenario. I don't know. The Braves have all hit well there. They've been there many times. It's a rookie pitcher thing, I think, more than anything. If Lyles or De La Rosa was on the mound tonight and been pitching well at home, I might avoid the Braves tonight. But with this kid in the mound, I just can't. He's just not a good pitcher in AAA. I mean, they have to pound him, I think, tonight.
You're disagreeing with yourself, but it's justifiable. I get it. It makes sense. I didn't know you're the one that started that. Well,
I might have been. I don't know if I was the one that started, but I was the first one that I heard bring it up about the visiting team first game anyway.
Yeah, I don't remember where I heard it first, to be honest, but it might have been you. Sure, let's give you credit. Sure, why not? Other guys that I think they're a little bit too cheap on Draft Street. First of all, a couple Dodgers. Scott Van Slyke matches the lefties, 4.8K, gets the park bump in Cincinnati. Tony Cingrani. There you go. I don't mind that play at all. He's more of an upside play, not necessarily a cash game play. Same thing goes for Matt Kemp, who's just 5K. That's too cheap. I have a couple other guys written down as well. Where are they at?
I'll mention Ryan Ludwick where you're looking for them. He's another guy. It's 3.7 on Draft Street. Awful cheap. He's smashed Heron over his career as well. Doesn't have the handedness, but again, batting 5 in that park. I like Ludwick as well, Dean.
Yeah, I can't argue with that. I think more of a tournament play, sure, but nice.
Yeah, these are all top punts of tournament plays for sure. Yeah.
Corey Dickerson, 5.3K.
Yeah, great spot.
Let's see who else George Springer's 5.8K. That's a little too cheap for me.
Yeah, he's been hitting really well still. I mean, that's a great park. Don't love the righty matchup. Comment has been pretty good on righties, but I think Springer is one of those guys now. He's pretty much matchup proof at this point, I think. Finally living up to the hype.
Yeah, and to keep with one of my trends here of picking on Nick Martinez, I have Alex Rios, 6.7K.
You mean you're picking on TJ House versus Rios, you mean?
Oh, TJ House. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm confusing my terrible pitchers.
Yeah, no, I mean, Rios just smashes left. He's been crushing him all season. He's been hot. Yeah, he's in a great spot as well. There's just so much out there. I mean, guys were asking us about Puig earlier, too. Puig's high-priced. At 8.9, he's awful high. On every side, he's pretty high. And I wonder about that injury a little bit. Cingrani's been decent, so I'm kind of fading Puig a little bit, but hard to go wrong with Puig. He is a superstar. He's in the lineup. He's capable of doing big things, so I'm not going to talk you out of it.
What about Puig as a contrarian play in tournaments? Because, like you said, I don't think anybody's really playing him because of that reason. Yeah,
I think that could be a great play. Like you said, maybe avoiding some Coors Field action and going to a guy like Puig, who a lot of guys probably don't realize he's in the lineup tonight, and we know what he's capable of. So, but yeah, it's a tough matchup. Cingrani's really been hit and miss lately, but he's a tough guy to hit sometimes. So it's only GPP for me with Puig, just because of price matchup and the fact that we don't really know how much that injury is going to affect him. I hate to see he's one of those situations where I don't want to play him and have him lead after the second at bat because it's bugging him still, like Cargo did for a few games there. He's one of those guys that I want to see come back, hit well before I trust him again.
Yeah, that makes sense. We only have a minute or so left here. I know Colorado is your top stack. At least I assume it's your top stack the way you're talking. Give me a sneaky stack. Give me somebody off the board.
Atlanta would be my top stack.
Yeah,
Not
why am I?
Colorado. Sneaky stack. They've been on fire. Richards has been up and down. Nobody's going to be on Oakland. I don't think all these other options say. And when you're picking a stack, you got to remember, you don't look at a bad matchup and go, okay, I'm going to take the Cubs because Charlie Morton's not a very good pitcher. The Cubs don't score 7, 8, 9, 10 runs. They don't hit home runs in bunches. So you got to remember, you got to take a team that can actually score, is capable of putting up 10 runs and hitting 4 home runs, and that is the Oakland A's. So I'll take them as a sneaky stack today. I don't love it, but if we're going to go off to 7 or 8 great matchups, I'll take them.
Fair enough. I'm not going to argue with that. It is 5:30. So that means we got to go. STL and CSU, they're knocking on the door. Hopefully they can get this this ship working somehow. If not through Skype, through Google Hangouts. It was nice working with you. Nice having a show with you. Anything you want to say before we get out of here?
Yeah, it's always a blast working with you. It's just too bad we couldn't have some more fun with it. But hey, Grandis, good luck. Go win some money tonight.
Yes, I ditto that. I repeat that, and I will confirm and not disagree. And it is 5:30. We got to go. Good work with you. Good luck, Grinders. Holler.